Hey, welcome to 7 Minute Stories here on the 167, and I'm here with Austin and Alexa Becker. Is it still weird?
It still is a little weird.
Newlyweds. How long has it been now?
It's been a little over 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, September.
Your wedding is famous because it was the first time, and I've actually now, when I do weddings, I always ask people, oh, do you want a unity candle? Do you want a braid rope? And then I'm like, do you want to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? And they're like, what? So that was the first wedding I've ever done. It was your guys' wedding that was the unity symbol was. And I had to write a devotion that was like, just as the peanut butter smooshes with the jelly.
Mm-hmm.
So do you guys still feel like you are that smushed peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. After being together for 6 years.
Who's the jelly and who's the peanut butter?
Peanut butter.
Peanut butter?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'd
You're
agree.
the jelly?
I'd agree with
Yeah.
that.
I can see that. So, like I said, you guys have been together for a long time, 6 years. And in that 6 years, you kind of came back to Christ. You kind of rediscovered your faith. So talk to me a little bit about, did your relationship change from kind of one step to the next? Or I know that happened at the same time that you were getting married, so there's lots of change that's happening. What was kind of the before and after?
I feel like the before is just we were still growing up. We're both pretty young right now. But just growing up and not necessarily doing the right things. And so I feel like just going to church, we started doing the right things, and noticing what we've been doing isn't the way that we still want to do things. And I feel like just finding that better community really pushed us together. And it also challenged us because we were figuring out, how we wanted to kind of take these new characteristics and, figure that out together and do that together.
Yeah, I definitely felt like we had built our whole relationship around, something that I like how Mike said it the most, like, you have an idol right here and you build your life around it. And we built it around the wrong things. And so all of our friend group was all around the wrong things. So now we kind of tossed out that idol, got rid of those friends, and now it's, now it's God. And then we have great friends now around that idol. So, and they all have same goals as us. And so that's how it definitely was, I feel like.
Yeah, it's amazing, like you said, that changing your community, how that changes your activities. It changes the health, emotional health, because you feel like you can go to somebody, those kind of things. What has been the biggest shocker being newlyweds? Like, what was the thing that you didn't anticipate?
How much laundry there is.
Are you doing the laundry?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he actually does the laundry. I usually fold it, but he likes doing the laundry.
See, it's the folding thing that's intimidating because, like, everybody wants their stuff folded different ways. So you either have to learn it or you just, like, you fold it.
Austin's folding is shoving it in the drawer as far as he can. So there's not much technique to it.
Although there is a technique in getting the washer just right. So that's my job. You got to,
So it doesn't shrink your clothes. And
Well, I do have a pair of pants that are a little shorter than they were before, but that's all right.
working out the kinks.
forgiveness. It's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
So I actually just gave this advice to a couple that's going to get married. I was like, go king size. Like, the king size bed is the ticket. Are you? You're nodding along.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, we actually just had this conversation where I was like, Austin, I'm getting really tired of you sleeping next to me. I would love to kick you to the bed, but I love laying diagonal. There's something about taking the entire bed that I just love. So I've had to readjust that a little bit.
Have you ever seen the memes on Instagram where it's like her side and it's like this much and it's his side?
Yes.
That's her. And that's just because she lays diagonal.
It's just my feet. My feet are just taking up
And she
space.
steals all the covers. So
For Carissa and I, she always wants to cuddle, and then she's like, now I'm hot, and I banish you to the far reaches of the edge of the bed.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to me a little bit about We were just talking before this about kind of some of the misnomers that people have. It's like, oh, well, when I'm a good Christ follower and I get married, like, we, sit in our two twin beds by each other and read the Bible to each other at night because that's my devotion. What do you guys actually do to stay active in your faith as a couple?
I would say, so we're both in the same life group. So we have roughly around 3-ish hours a week of homework that we do, and that could be podcasts, YouTube videos, whatever, from various people. And so we'll do those. We actually do them completely separate. We're not like, let's get cuddled up and listen to it together. Like,
Just cuddle up and listen to Chuck Missler.
No, not the case. I have a dedicated space in the basement. It sounds bad, but it's where I work. It's my office also, and it brings me a lot of peace to be in there and doing my homework there alone and not have any distractions. Plus, she may think something is important that I don't think is as important or worth writing down. So then you have different pause points and everything. So she'll usually do it up in our room or in the living room, and then I do it in the basement.
Then you come back together and compare notes.
Yeah, we tend to do, and at our life groups, we obviously get to hear each other and what we wrote down. But we also just thought it was really important to keep our faith individual and then bring it together and talk about that as a couple. Because I want to grow in my own faith and figure out what I truly believe, and it's not always going to be what he believes. But I don't want to ever take that away or have him kind of control my thoughts or I control his thoughts. So yeah, we definitely do that separately, and then
It can be a tricky thing, especially like I said, in marriages, but also like with child and parent relationships too, where people struggle with that, where it's like, well, this is what my mom and dad say, so I'm just going to go along and to get along, and that's what I believe. Mm-hmm. Versus like in marriage, like you challenge each other. It's like, oh, I can see where you're coming from there, but here's what I'm thinking. You're like, oh yeah, that's good too.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah, we definitely had those discussions with each other. Because some of the podcasts we listen to, sometimes they have some challenging topics of, various different things. But, if she comes to me and she's like, I really didn't like how he said this. And, she took it one way, but I maybe took it the other. So I give her like kind of my interpretation of it, and not to persuade her like, oh, my interpretation's right, just so she can get a different view on it. And sometimes that helps her. And then sometimes she's like, I don't know about your interpretation either.
Yeah. I always tell people a lot of times, my brother has a phrase where he says, you have to eat the fish and leave the bones. Like, so you could listen to a podcast and be like, I agreed with this, this, and this. I don't really like that. Toss the bones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was hard for me to do. I kind of like to nitpick things. But yeah.
She'd hear that
like
one
point
thing.
By point.
She'd hear that one thing, like, mid-fish, and she couldn't just throw away the bone. She's like, I'm going to throw away the rest of it.
The whole thing is bad.
The whole thing. Yeah. I would also say that we had a really hard time talking about our feelings with, with being Christians and with getting kind of this new idea of God. I feel like we felt kind of embarrassed to talk to each other about it, which is so weird to us because we can tell each other literally anything, the weird stuff. But this was just something that was really hard to talk about, and since then we've gotten a lot better about it. But I don't know. I don't know if how every couple feels that way, but I don't know. It was just something that we struggled with at the beginning for sure.
Well, I think a lot of times there's not a lot of context for that. Like you watch rom-coms, you watch culture, and so you very much know, you learn how to flirt, you learn how to sort of being in a relationship by watching other people do it. But those are intimate conversations, and it's like not a lot of times are you watching a show and they're like, today I was listening to a podcast about Jesus, and it's like you don't have a lot of models for that. And so I think it can be very awkward for couples to start talking about their faith.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, it took me so long just to get comfortable with saying the word God or Jesus openly, just because I was just like, ooh, you know,
Feel
like it was almost,
sacrilegious.
yeah, almost just cringy. And so it was hard to talk with her about it, especially because I feel like since I got to New Life and where I'm at, you know, even now is just such a, I don't know, 720. Like
Mhm.
it's so different where now it's like I'm singing along in church and, you know, we're talking about podcasts and I'm, you know, talking to the Holy Spirit, you know, like all this stuff. And it's just, it's so different. And yeah, so at the beginning, it was hard to talk about, but now it's just like we, the one thing that we do together is whenever we're in our room, we actually have our Bibles on our bedside tables. And so we'll read those together because one of the first podcasts we actually listened to was Derek Prince. And he had said that if someone who hasn't read the Bible, he would say like, you know, read John, Acts, and then like Romans or Ephesians. He said you can change out Romans for Ephesians if you wanted to. And so we did. I got through John and Acts, and I think she did as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then she actually read Ephesians while we were in Arkansas. So she's a little ahead of me now, I must say. But
Yeah. We're both a little competitive as well. So one person brings out the Bible to bed, and then the other person has to. It's like, oh, man.
she does it for 15. I got to do it for 15 and a half.
Oh, man. Well, that's good. It's a good thing to kind of bring in there. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for sharing that. I think that's going to bless people because, like I said, I think couples out there, like you said, I think that sometimes they feel awkward about it. So I think your journey is going to bless people, and thanks for sharing it.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you guys next time on 7 Minute Stories.